Climate change. A couple of words that really provoke a lot of passion and emotion in a lot of people. In fact, it divides the world almost as much as, well, the plague. But realistically, the question we got to ask ourselves, putting aside emotion and social impact and all of that other stuff, the politics, does climate change impact the way health and safety professionals do their job? Does it affect how we work? Good questions. Why don't you do me a favor and join me back up in the office and we can look at it. Okay, see you in a bit. Yeah. Hey, here we are. Yeah, honestly, about climate change, it is something that's super divisive, and really and truthfully, we shouldn't get caught up in it because we don't want to get swayed by the narrative. Not at all. We don't want to get swayed by the political and social narrative. It's divisive. And if we choose to choose sides, then we lend our voice to the narrative and we are just looking at one perspective. Don't. We can't. Okay? We have to look at all sides. Our job is to look at the facts and the present, the here and now. So dealing with the facts that we know, what we know, and in the here and now. Because really, when it gets right down to it, facts don't care about feelings. They honestly don't care at all. The question is that you have to ask yourself, what exactly are these facts? And a good question. Well, here's the facts that we do have and what we do know. Okay, hazards are present in all of the work that we do. Regardless of the nature of the work, there are always hazards. And because there are hazards, they have to be properly identified and assessed for risk. That means that you're going to need to look at the probability, the severity, and the probable consequences to assess that risk correctly. Once you've assessed the risk, you can prioritize the hazards and begin to implement controls. That's that thinking of elimination, substitution, or considering engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPE. One thing that we do know for certain is that excessive heat and excessive cold may be hazards, but depending on context. Who's doing the work? How many people are doing the work? What's the nature of the work? What are the activities? And for how long? And what exactly are the temperatures and guidelines? So before we jump to the conclusion that it's a big risk and a big disaster, we have to understand the facts. So what do you, as an HSE professional, do? Well, this may sound like I'm repeating myself, but you identify the hazards and assess for risks. Sound familiar? You make recommendations on the necessary controls to reduce risk and make work safer. Part of that is going to be assisting in safe work document design and creating procedures and processes so that work can continue safely. And you're going to monitor those controls and evaluate those controls for effectiveness. Number one, making sure that there's no additional hazards. Okay, that new controls shouldn't cause new hazards, and then making sure that they're effective. So I bet you're thinking to yourself, man, all of this sounds extremely difficult. Well, you don't have to go it alone. And in fact, you shouldn't. If you're going it alone, that means you're working in your perspective, your own opinion, and it may be considered anecdotal. What you want to do is use the power of your health and safety committee and get them to help you with monitoring those controls for effectiveness, or at least collecting information and making observations on your behalf, and then you can get together and compare notes. It doesn't have to be as difficult as you would think.
You do realize this is about climate change.
So let's put it into that climate context. Let's consider, what does the HSE professional do putting it into that climate context? This might surprise you, but we identify extreme temperatures and look and consider if there's hazards present with those extreme temperatures. Now, we might not be able to tell right away with our own opinions, because we shouldn't, but what we're going to do is we're going to align with any legislative process that's present, either in the legislation itself or guidelines established through the legislation, or using industry guidelines if they're present. Now, I've created some videos regarding writing safe work documents. And so to help you along in recommending controls and designing your safe work documents, you can keep an eye up in this corner, and I'll leave a link to a video playlist regarding designing safe work documents. But the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to use worker and health and safety committee feedback so that you can observe those controls, evaluate them, and ensure that they're effective and are not causing any additional hazards or problems. So, what is it we safety professionals do? Well, you know what? We identify hazards, we assess them for risk, and we apply controls to control those hazards. It's what we do, and we're good at it. So, we should stick to what we're good at. Don't get caught up in the narrative. Don't get caught up in the debate regarding climate change. Do what you're good at. Let's put it all into perspective, shall we? As HSE professionals, we've been dealing with extreme temperatures forever. Well, at least as long as safety professionals have been safety professionals, we've been dealing with extreme temperatures. So, what does that mean? Well, we can't get caught up in the political or social narratives. We don't, because then we pick sides. It's divisive and non-productive. So don't. Just don't. It's like talking about politics at work. Avoid it. Okay? We need to deal with the facts and the present because facts don't care about feelings, and it's right here and now in the present. In fact, most climate change research is done through computer modeling and predictive algorithms. So realistically, let's deal with the fact and deal with the stuff at our level. Okay, but you also have to be diplomatic and conscious of the concerns of others because their perception is their reality. But what you can do is lend your voice to that reality and say, yes, I imagine that you consider climate change is an issue, but let's deal with the here and now and let's look at protecting the workers in the situation they're in right now. So when you get right down to it, safety should not be at the mercy of social narrative. Not at all. It shouldn't be involved in politics. There should not be any picking sides or choosing sides. It should just be about safety. And that's it. Now, if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be, but let me know in the comments. I imagine this is a pretty divisive subject. I might lose a few viewers. Hate to see that happen, but do me a favor. Before you go, let me know. Now, until we see each other again, and I really, really hope we do, don't just think about safety. Don't just talk about safety, but be a safety leader, be an influencer, provoke safety, wherever you are. Okay? Take care. Bye for now.